Are we going to get ready for the future or not? That's the question. And what does the future mean for these eagles? And what does the future mean for our water? And what does the future mean for the kinds of communities that we're going to hand off to our kids and our grandkids and their grandkids? That's what's on the table right now. That's the great clash of values happening in Congress. I guarantee you it's happening in Richmond. I guarantee you it's happening in every capital in this country. Most fish and wildlife agencies have already done the cutting off your toes and fingers belt tightening. Now it's wrists and ankles. They're essentially strangling slowly. And the North American model for conservation funding in this country, where we could do the public's work on the backs of the fees of hunters and anglers, is in the process of disintegrating. Most fish and wildlife agencies in this country will be irrelevant in 25 years. And if any of you think we're going to just go to Congress and get new taxes for it, please return to this planet right away. We need a different strategy. Because let me tell you, that language doesn't resonate right now in the country. It's about the economy. So what I tell fish and wildlife agencies is, your message is it's about the economy. And your messenger are CEOs of major businesses and local governments that depend on tourism and outdoor recreation. And the great advocacy, the great sleeping giant advocacy of people in this country who care about eagles and salmon and deer and ducks and stuff in the context of our lands and our parks and our open space. And many of them have never hunted, never will. But they care so passionately about wildlife, but they don't know how to frame the issue. They don't normally consider themselves politically active. They don't know how to express their outrage. So mostly they just get mad as hell after the wrong decision's been made. And it'll be too late, because now we're talking about the trajectory of massively important decisions. So I have told fish and wildlife professionals in this country, we are facing a crisis the likes of which you have never seen in your lifetime or your career. Frankly, the likes of which we haven't seen since the days of Roosevelt. But we have an example of how to deal with it. Right here. The way Roosevelt did with it. Which is tell your story to millions of people through the media about what's really going on in Congress. And what's really going on in our political system right now. And the values that are really at stake, and what the longer term implications of those are. I believe there's 4 things that every leader of every organization, whether it's a government organization like where I come from, or a private company that cares about conservation like my current fishing tackle dealer or manufacturer leaders, or organizations like you that are essentially Eagle Nation as we know it here. 4 things we should do right now. One of them is get back in touch with our values. As we care so much about these individual animals, do we demonstrate that we care so much about the framework that created this success story? Do we even understand the habitat challenges that are at stake as we make our political decisions? Do we even understand what essentially defunding the entire Fish and Wildlife Service would mean in terms of recovery of endangered species? Do we care about that anymore? And if we care about that, can we relate that to the political decisions of the day? We have to get in touch with our values. A lot of fish and wildlife agencies are deer in the headlights. They're afraid of the political controversy. They're just busy out there counting the deer and setting the season, which really doesn't matter a whit. It really doesn't matter a whit. In the bigger picture, longer term, there's only 2 things that really drive the trajectory for wildlife in this country. One of them is the status of the habitat, and the second one is the weather. And both are changing. And they're both changing in a massive way, and weighing in on things like land use planning is a good way to get the living hell beat out of you if you're a state agency or a federal agency in this conservative politics of the day today. So a lot of them just want to get back to business and count the deer and set the season. And we will watch the conservation framework of this country dismantle in our time if we continue to put the priority on that. The second thing is we have to decide what work is most important, long-term, big picture. We're not solving any of these conservation problems by just managing hunting and fishing. We're solving these conservation problems by talking about what Virginia will look like by 2100 and what policy decisions will drive that trajectory. Talking about what the future of the salmon will be in 2100 based on the way we spend our money and the way we create conservation easements and the way we make long-term investments getting ready for the climate to change. That's what will make the difference. And do we celebrate the heroes that are standing up and calling it out, or do they just get the hell pounded out of them by conservative political feedback in Congress and in our state agencies? Your local Department of Game and Inland Fisheries got the hell pounded out of it in the last session of legislation and was barely saved, partially because of work by Ed Clark, partially because of work that you supported. And I want to thank you for that. It's a rarity in this country that a group of eagle enthusiasts would stand out for their Department of Fish and Game. If it continues to be a rarity, we will watch them disappear in our lifetime and the legacy they create. The third thing is, this storm is like Katrina coming to shore. The normal human reaction is just to fold into a fetal position, shut up, and hope it blows over. That's exactly the wrong thing to do. The right thing to do is to speak out and call it out and force the political hand of those who would watch conservation die in our country and shine light on it and force accountability, which means more communication about the broad trajectory of conservation than we've ever had before. And yet many agencies are in shrink and reduction mode. The first thing they do is they cut their public communications department because it's perceived as not mission critical. In fact, it is survival critical. And then the last thing is we have to find a new funding mechanism. And I don't know what that new funding mechanism is. But if we continue to rely on hunting and fishing fees and gear excise taxes and hunting and fishing, it's over. Conservation as we know it in this country is over. Yes, we will continue to have the Nature Conservancy, and we will continue to have Defenders of Wildlife, and we will continue to have pretty substantial non-governmental organizations pushing conservation policy and theory in this country. But the main stance, the main support of conservation in this country, the big federal agencies like Fish and Wildlife Service and National Marine Fisheries Service, EPA, and our state Fish and Wildlife agencies will literally crumble before our eyes in the next 25 years under the current political trajectory and policy priorities for budget. We have to find a new strategy. I don't know what it is. A lot of people are debating what it is. Some people think we will have a water crisis in this country and we'll develop a huge water market, shifting water around from northern latitudes to southern. And some people think you could take 0.5% of that money transfer, peel it off for conservation, and you could essentially match all the dollars that hunters and fishers put on the table now. Some people think it will be the carbon credit market. Some people think it will be expanding excise taxes to birdseed and binoculars. I don't know what it is. I just know we have to solve that problem and have to do it soon. There's huge change coming. This is a hurricane of change we're in right now. The analogy I use is a great wave rising. It's like a tsunami that's still 400 miles into the ocean. And we've heard of it, and we know it's coming, we just don't know quite how big it is. And we can either use the lead time to get ready for this change, to get ready for the future, to get ready for the future here in Virginia and across this country with a hell of a lot more people and a shifting climate, or we can wait to be sure. We can wait to just see how high this wave is, and by then we will have no lead time to get ready for it. And our children will inherit the results. And our grandchildren will inherit the results. Right now, we have to speak out. How did I turn that darn thing back on? Go away. Right now, we have to speak out. Right now, we have to tell this story. Start out, each of you, by reading this book. And recognize that Theodore Roosevelt faced a challenge far bigger than the one we face right now. He created the framework of this country out of whole cloth, out of a crazy idea that no one ever thought could possibly ever happen. He fought Standard Oil. He fought Andrew Carnegie. He fought corrupt politics, the likes of which even today's corrupt politics are a small fading shadow. Off. I apologize. I thought I had that darn thing off. I want you to think about what Theodore Roosevelt faced, and then I want you to think about what we talk about today. I want you to take all of the energy you have and all the love you have for these eagles, and I want you to peel off a small portion of your energy and look what's happened politically in this country. This great debate we're marching into in this election, this great debate we're marching into in terms of the budget deliberations of Congress, this great debate between different points of view is being engaged. It's largely being engaged without your point of view. A lot of wildlife people don't want to get involved in politics. There's a hell of a lot of biologists who just want to go up in the wilderness and measure deer antlers because I don't know about all this political stuff. I'm telling you, we're talking about the very survival of conservation in this country. The last thing I want to say to you is, we'll not win this battle by giving into collective depression. We will not win this battle by just getting discouraged. It starts out with maintaining your personal juice. I was watching people as you were listening to Ed Clark, and you were laughing, and you were nodding, and you were elbowing one another, and you're grinning, and you're thinking about how you're going to write this up in the blog. You know, you got a bunch of energy. You got a bunch of juice in you. This room is full of juice. What I'm saying is, listen to Ed's comments about how he feels about working with wildlife, and then listen to mine and translate that into action. If we had the same 75,000 people who are part of this Eagle Nation speaking out to Barack Obama and John Boehner and Mitt Romney and Mitch McConnell and Harry Reid, we would have a powerful force of change. Speaking about what's important. Most of you won't do that on your own, interest. Most of you won't know how to do that. Most of it won't occur to most of you that there's a direct relationship between the health of these eagles and the future of conservation in this country and those political decisions that are being made right now. I'm saying to you, as I say to every Fish and Wildlife agency I talk to in this country, there's a great wave rising. It's picking up steam. It's coming toward us. It's going to hit us, but it's going to hit our children more. Big change is coming in terms of the growth of this country and the development of this country, and big changes are coming in the climate. And our choices are, get ready for that change or not. I appreciate so much being here. I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Jim Martin. I'm presenting at the Eagle Conference in Norfolk, and I give Christina permission to post any and everything I say, and I hope the whole dang world looks at it.